It's all about helping a larger group of people with a lot of diversity, different races, different ethnicities, different religions, come together and understand what are the laws of nature, and especially what is the influence of the three modes of nature on themselves, and to see the value and benefit of learning to live in the mode of goodness. Because mode of goodness, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, what does it mean? Let's take a quick look. It's explained in the 17th and 18th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. And it says, starting 18th chapter, and it begins in the 12th verse, 18th chapter. It says, "For one who has not renounced the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy." And that is the 18th chapter, 12th verse. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, "A person in Krishna consciousness acting in knowledge of his relationship with Krishna is always liberated. Therefore, he does not have to enjoy or suffer the results of his acts after death." And then, if we fast forward to verse number 17, "One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions." Then 18. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and performer of action. Now hear of them from me, Krishna says. So then, text 20, "That knowledge by which one's undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness." And then it explains what knowledge in the mode of passion is, and what knowledge in the mode of ignorance is. And then next it says, "That action which is regulated," this is text 23, "and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruit of results, is said to be in the mode of goodness." And then explains what action and passion and ignorance is. And then it says in text 26, "One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness." And then explains the worker in the mode of passion and ignorance. And then text 29, text 30, "O Arjuna, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is not, and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness." So anyway, you get the idea. The mode of goodness is explained in these verses in the 17th and 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, basically, if someone lives in the mode of goodness, first of all, you have to understand what it is, right? And this is a clear explanation of it in Bhagavad Gita. Then most of the miseries of life go away, miseries and anxieties, and things like that. And one is most of the time happy, and they're no longer, they're very regulated in their lifestyle. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending are all regulated according to the rules of Krishna consciousness. And therefore, they're not harassed by the laws of nature. They're free of the laws of nature, or of infringing on the laws of nature, and therefore they're happy, they're creative, they're positive, and they're being very much protected by the mercy of Krishna. It's still not transcendental goodness, but it's getting close. The stricter they follow of regulated life, and it's the stepping stone to this higher transcendental state, which is called pure Krishna consciousness, or transcendental goodness. So the idea is to help the general population to understand and hopefully aspire to live in the mode of goodness, because only in the mode of goodness can people understand higher order spiritual concepts. They can't understand it at all in the mode of ignorance. And they can maybe understand very little bit, but not very much, in the mode of passion. But in the mode of goodness, they can really begin to start understanding Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and so forth. So, if we can build up a coalition of goodness, that is, getting people, it's because if we explain it like this, based on, not you have to surrender to Krishna, but based on, these are the laws of material nature, and these are the description of how to live in the mode of goodness. And the benefits are so good that only a crazy person would refuse to do it. And we're not saying you have to change your religion. We're not saying you have to convert to be a Hare Krishna or even chant Hare Krishna. We're just saying, let's learn about what the real laws of material nature are. Let's not be misled by like people like the Pope and others, they eat meat. Because the dietary things, there's diet in the mode of goodness, diet in the mode of passion, diet in the mode of ignorance. So it's all encompassing the mode of goodness, the explanation of it. And when people begin to understand it, they realize, I would live a much better life if I lived always in the mode of goodness. And we avoid all these arguments and anger and envy and madness and jealousy, all that stuff. Become free of it and live a happy and productive life. And if one wants to go further, then they're poised to go further and come to transcendental life. But if we start talking about transcendental life right away and all the rules and regulations that Krishna consciousness, nobody's going to accept it, or very few people are going to accept it. But if we talk about this gradual elevation to at least the mode of goodness, then you'll have a whole bunch of people who are eligible to go further to Krishna consciousness. And in the least, you bring people to the mode of goodness, and they cooperate, and they feel inspired because they want to teach this to their kids also, and so this could, be a progressive, positive thing for society. Otherwise, the people get duped by, war, publicity. We must go to war. It's absolutely necessary right now, and we must have sense gratification. That's the goal of life. And we must, work really hard and make a lot of money, because then we can have a lot of sense gratification. That would all stop. that would all stop, and people would be much more realistic about, wait a minute, I have all these assets, this intelligence, this mind, and these senses. How should I use them? What's the purpose of life? Right? They would be able to talk about significant things like that, and then they'd be primed to hear answers by bona fide devotees. So, there are these two booklets that I've written. One is the Dance for Peace and Social Harmony. The other one is Life's Problems and Solutions. So we sort of amalgamate them, and this will be the text that we'll distribute for free at Ananda Mela, and then we'll have displays of how to live in a mode of goodness by following apolitical nonviolence for societal change, education in the mode of goodness, food in the mode of goodness, agriculture in the mode of goodness, economics and finance in the mode of goodness, communication in the mode of goodness, meditation for goodness, chanting for goodness, health and diet and so forth, not diet, but health in the mode of goodness, and military in the mode of goodness, social order, organization, meaning Varnashram Dharma in the mode of goodness, and the 26 good qualities that one attains living in the mode of goodness. So these are some of the ideas. I mean, we'll have to develop it, and some of the ideas for displays. So we would be presenting a solution for a sustainable, happy, and peaceful society. That's what we want. And I think everybody wants that. So we would be amalgamating all the good people and all the different religions, even if they're atheists. They're atheists that want to have a good life, right? So we're not against anybody. So that's a general idea. So open to discussion and questions. Yeah.
So regarding this, so are we planning in Anandala, so it's separate booths or where, so whole theme is I understand, but it's like special display like the way we do generally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are going to do bigger models of this like this or?
Not bigger. It can be like this. Yeah, so someone will be explaining, military for goodness, and someone will be explaining food for goodness, and someone will be explaining economics for goodness, economics and finance for goodness, right? So that means that, it'll be all written down in this booklet, but the people who adopt this booth or that booth have to learn themselves how to explain it. Right.
So we captured about 10 to 12 different
Yeah,
topics here.
There can be things I missed also.
Yeah. So we'll read the books that are there so that we can.
Yeah, you can get it on the ISKCON.
Vedic
Cultural Center webpage. Both of these books are there.
So just to kind of put some more understanding from our perspective, Maharaj, so we'll break down in terms of, let's say, 12 to 15 different themes.
Yeah.
And then each one will have some, either one or more of the displays that explain the concept.
Yes.
And then the expectation is that somewhere in the Ananda Mela, people would be walking through, so that they get
the middle booths where we always have our
The
preaching booth. It'll be this.
Yeah.
Vedic village kind of.
Yes, exactly. And see, this is at the end of Life's Problems and Solutions. It's a flow chart. One side is everything that leads to becoming miserable and unhappy, and the other one is everything that leads to become happy and productive.
Yeah,
Right.
I saw that last night.
This is a very, very, very good thing. It took a long time to compile this.
Correct.
So and people see what what we're aiming at, you know. Yes. Exactly.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Maharaj, very good idea. I had one question.
Yes.
If the goal is to target anybody who walks in,
Yeah.
how do you, I mean, some of them are atheists, some of them don't believe in God. How do you explain what is the goal of life? Because if that is the catch line, and
Oh well, we're not going to preach in the sense of, you know, this is Krishna consciousness. We're talking to, only our goal is to help people come up to the mode of goodness. Once they're in the mode of goodness, then you can start bringing up higher order spiritual principles. Okay, but right now we're concerned now not just with devotees. We're concerned about the whole society and how to help the whole society come up to the mode of goodness, which is the only mode in which you can understand higher order principles of life. Right? If you start right away, you know, you got to chant Hare Krishna and you got to do this, you know, they're just going to walk away. Right?
no, I didn't mean that, Maharaj. What I was asking is, how do you,
We're
why
not
should-
talking about the goal of life right now. We're talking about these are the laws of material nature. You can accept them or reject them, but these are the actual laws that are controlling people right now, right? All of us. And these are the three modes of material nature that are controlling our actions. We're not actually free. We're not independent. These things are controlling us. And now, the mode of goodness, although it's controlling our actions, but it can be the stepping stone by which you can go to much higher realizations. But you have to come at least to the mode of goodness to get to that, if you want to go farther. Or you can just stay in the mode of goodness and you'll have a very good life.
Correct.
Right? You'll avoid most pain and misery and sickness and mental problems and economic problems by living in the mode of goodness. But if you want to go further and have a full solution of the problem of life, you can only do it from the mode of goodness. You're not going to be able to do it from the mode of ignorance or passion, because people are too much attached in those modes. It's in the mode of goodness that you begin to break down these very heavy material attachments.
Got it, Maharaj. So we're going to start with educating them on the laws of material nature and
Yes.
help them understand why they need to act in the mode of goodness first.
Why they can act. Don't say
Why they
that
can, yeah.
they have to, you know. As soon as you use those words, you know, people get scared, right? No, why they can. You're giving them possibilities to improve themselves. And everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be prosperous. Everybody wants to be healthy, right? And they don't want to be in anxiety all the time. So here's a solution for those everyday problems that everybody has, whether they're an atheist or a demon or a believer in God, you know. Yeah.
Obviously, one common thing to get everybody is happiness, but we can even start with the words written in Constitution: life, liberty, and happiness.
Well, that was the theme of this whole Dance for Peace. It was, and life's, let's see, let me see what the introduction says here. Let's see here. Well, okay, in the flow chart, it begins with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the theme of the Constitution, not the Constitution, but the preamble of the Constitution of the United States. So, if that's the let's say, the header, right? So one side explains to you how you can be how can you have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? Because at the end here it says happy population. And these are all the steps to a happy population. And over here is all the steps to unhappy population, right? But the theme is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
So there is also the definition of life according to the Vedic knowledge versus the modern knowledge. I mean, do we want to tackle into like the aspect of what is the definition of life? Because the keywords are still accurate in the life, but the concept
Well,
of material life
okay.
versus, the spiritual life, and then the same thing with liberty means then we can explain the material
Well,
life.
when it says life, liberty, so right away the first point is the proper use of free will or the misuse of free will. So that's a big subject. We can explain that, right? And then the second step, attachment to spiritual conception. And the second, on the other side, attachment to the material conception. And then the third is gradually freed from influence of the three modes of material nature. On the other side, influenced by the three modes of material nature. Right? And then number four is real teachers. And the other side is false teachers. So, I mean, you get a chance at every one of these steps to explain so many things that it's part of Krishna conscious philosophy. But it's under the title of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In other words, everybody wants to be happy, right? Well, this is the way you could attain sustained happiness throughout all life. And this is what causes all the problems that people have today. Right? So this is very, very detailed. If you look at this flow chart, right? This is for happiness, this is for misery. You have the whole philosophy right there. And so look at it, I mean, look at it very carefully. Right? I won't go over everything right now, but you look at it very carefully. And it gives you a chance at every one of these things to expound the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness.
So,
Yeah.
question. So basically, yes, our theme is to bring the goal is of this is to bring people to more of goodness because we are targeting
Yes.
for our generic population. We are not targeting any specific people. So
Because most people, almost the whole population is living in the modes of passion and ignorance
Yeah.
right now.
yeah.
Rajas and tamas.
So while coming up with this material or for displays and all those things, and while explaining, do you think that we should be refrained from the quotes from our scriptures like Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, or it's okay to include those kind of things for supporting what we are saying? Because when you are saying how we need to convince people, how do people convince? Okay, what you are saying is correct.
Well, yeah, see, our point is to gradually elevate people. So you don't want to give them an overload of information,
Okay.
right? You want to just gradually help them. So the point is happiness as opposed to misery. So anybody in their right mind says, yeah, I want to be happy. But, are you going to tell me how to be happy? And we said, no. We're going to give you suggestions how to have sustained happiness. That means continual happiness. Because whatever happiness most people have now, they're talking about sense gratification, of course, is not sustainable. Because it's always punctuated with mishaps and unhappiness and problems. Just like there was an article in the news that said, he said, first there was an economic downturn. Then there was the pandemic. And now there's war. So how much worse can it get? I mean, this is what people have experienced in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The economic downturn,
Yeah.
the pandemic, and more economic downturn, right? And now there's a war. What else can go wrong? I mean, they're saying, what's the next thing that's going to go wrong? That's what they're saying,
Yeah.
But this has had a series of terrible things that have happened to the whole world. So we're addressing that issue. We're explaining, why these bad things happen and how to avoid them, so that you have sustained happiness. Someone said, well, I'm happy, Yeah, they're happy a little bit, there's no doubt about it, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah, but why I'm asking, because I might want to put myself in somebody's shoes, and while asking, so we might face people like very materialistic, and they think, what you are saying is sustainable. What is your definition of sustainable? How do we believe that this is going to sustainable? How do you prove that it's sustainable and this is not going to happen?
Proof is in the pudding, as they say in English. First of all, are you happy? So you can't convince someone else
Correct.
unless you yourself are happy, right? Unless your kids are happy, your wife is happy, your life is generally peaceful. So if that's a fact, then you can convince another person. You say, look, I'm an example, Before I used to be in anxiety all the time. Now I know how to deal with difficult situations because I go to sleep early, I wake up early. And in other words, I have good habits. I don't stay up late. I don't watch television. I don't go to movies. I'm focused on sustainable happiness, having a very peaceful life. I don't get angry. I'm no longer, a victim, constant victim of lust, anger, and greed. I live a minimalist life, and I have very nice relationships with my wife, my kids, and now my neighbors and people, and I have the determination to help other people. That's why I'm speaking to you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying, look, this thing has worked for me. Maybe it will work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to be on that level. You have to do this, Otherwise, you're a demon. No, you don't want to go there. Right? So in other words, if you got something, then you're confident because you got it. Whether that person agrees or doesn't agree, you got something. And if he sees that you actually have this sustainable happiness and you're peaceful and you're productive and you're trying to help others, and you're not trying to force them. You're just giving them suggestions, right? And you've gone through the trouble of all this, and if you can't, they say, well, I don't know. Let me look at your book, and I'll get back to you. Oh, fine, sir. How much is it? No, you can have it for free, right? We don't have a pecuniary or economic, let's say, an economic pressing issue that we have to get so much for this so I can give it to you. And we're giving it away free, right? And we have free prasadam also, and it's a free festival. Right? So you see, do you have are you wearing leather shoes? No, I don't have leather shoes because we don't believe in killing animals. So you got to make sure you don't have leather shoes. No, I got challenged once. So let me look at your shoes. Yeah, right. We're talking about we don't kill animals. So he said, let me see your belt.
I gradually reduced all these things.
Yeah, if you're going to preach, about these things, you got to be careful. People are smart; they're not dumb.
Yeah.
Right? You'll meet someone that's very smart. I say, let me see your shoes, man.
Yeah. But I think that's a good suggestion about you can convince by showing the real condition, like how you see people are changed.
If you got something, that whether that guy accepts it or not doesn't matter because you got it. You're holding on to it. You have a peaceful, happy life. Right? And if they see that, you say, okay, well, look, you're a good representative of what you're talking about. I can see that you're for real. I don't know if I'm going to accept this, but give me your book. I'll look at it. If I have some questions, I'll call you back. All right. We're not trying to sign them up for a discovery course. We're just presenting something, and it's voluntary, and we're not We don't have this imperative. I got to convince one person to become a devotee. No.
Maybe as a demonstrating, while demonstrating, maybe demonstrating or like with along with the whole family would be better rather than an individual person.
Of
because
course, of course.
that will give a different impression.
The
for
wife
a
and
person.
kids,
Yeah.
yes. Husband, wife, and kids. Why not? That's why I say if you have something, then, you're there already. Now it's up to other people to think, well, I can't really find anything wrong with these guys, and what they're saying. Their message is good. Their food is good. They smile. It looks like their family is good. They got something. And I might want to have that same thing. And maybe I can listen to what they're saying. Got it?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
Maharaj. So for in the flow chart for each of the points, so we want to show the problem and also the solution in the display.
Well, the display is, let's not make it too complicated, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The display is normal issues in life and how to bring them up to the mode of goodness. So there's, agriculture for goodness, economics for goodness, finance for goodness, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we don't want to make it too complicated. We don't want to have an example of each one of these things in these two charts, because otherwise,
Too much.
we'd have to use the whole festival for this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to go there. We want to, have a sampling,
Mm-hmm.
that's somewhat comprehensive, but not completely comprehensive. The book will be completely comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do something that we can actually do, and not get overwhelmed with it.
Mm-hmm.
So Maharaj, I think one thing at least we benefit from this is like clearing some misconceptions, or rather the misdefinitions or wrong definitions of what gives them happiness, or like, for example,
No, why is
focusing
there, why
on
is there misery that
Oh.
follows happiness?
yes,
Why is it? Because it's a law of nature. They don't know what the laws of nature are. We don't even know what the laws of nature are. We're learning.
Hmm.
But you learn what these laws of nature are, you suddenly realize, my God, I got to know this stuff, because that's why, I've been getting in trouble. That's why I have trouble in my relationships. That's why I have trouble at work. That's why I have trouble. I'm full of anxiety all the time. And
So maybe educating, I think you're hitting on the right point, which is, if people can accept the laws of nature,
if they can, yeah.
if they can, then the solutions, they will be bought into it.
Yeah, it's law, right?
Hmm.
Like we have to accept the laws of, the route, how to drive.
Correct.
We have to accept the laws about income tax. We have to accept this law and that law, right? But there's another set of laws that we don't even know about that are affecting us.
Correct.
We're going to be telling them we're going to areas that they have never thought about. They didn't know that misery accompanies sense gratification. They didn't know that. And it's going to be hard for them to accept such a concept. But they accept it because they see it happening. Look how much divorce there is in the country, and look at how much violence there is in the country. I mean, why is all this happening when this is supposed to be the greatest country in the world and the richest country in the world?
So if
The
we
richest
can,
country in the world, they have homelessness, all over the place now.
Correct. I think maybe just getting some of those data points to bring to justify and in their mind, because if we generally say, let's say one of the
No, but things are going wrong, see? First there's the economic downturn, then there's the pandemic, now there's a war. What's
Correct.
next? You see, they're seeing that all these things are happening, and it's not supposed to happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to connect, so that it becomes surreal for them to experience, and when we connect, like just as you are describing, I'm just visualizing that somehow they go through this experience of, booth after booth, like let's say, it's not like I'm talking about the entire Ananda Mela, but let's say we have 15 steps. They go through every step. One part of it they're accepting, okay, I agree with the principle. Everybody wants to be
Happy.
life, liberty and happiness. Everybody wants happiness. Okay, but then the next thing is, what is the real definition of happiness, or who is controlling our happiness, or what is controlling our happiness? Maybe.
No, what is subverting our happiness?
What is subverting our happiness?
Not who's controlling our happiness. What is subverting?
Exactly.
And it's only ignorance. It's only ignorance,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They don't understand that, you eat meat, you're going to suffer.
Mm.
They think, it's necessary to eat meat to have. There's this one lady, she's on this campaign all over the country now, trying to convince people it's absolutely necessary to eat meat. All these vegans and vegetarians, they're nonsense. They're subverting the health of the American people.
Yes.
So we have to explain. We have to, give people. You're taking them to areas they haven't gone to before because they think it's normal to eat meat.
Yeah, they don't even question. I mean, most of the times, unless we present it in a way that, why is that the wrong thing? Because people just like, many times they don't think, and we never thought until we were probed to, or pointed to a data point that questions our assumption.
Right.
So I think we'll need to bring some of these data points that historically.
But you don't want to go too heavy, right? You want to. I don't mean to remain superficial, but you don't want to be too heavy because you're dealing with a vast number of people that are diverse in the Nandamela, right? There's like 20, 30,000 people come.
Correct.
So all kinds of people are walking in and out. So, we want to, if they see you have something and they're sure that you have found something really good, they're going to be interested. So you have to be psychologically clear.
So our biggest
yourself.
display, then our biggest display is the happy families.
Yes, that's the strongest, attraction.
Displaying ourselves,
Yeah.
presenting ourselves.
If you got something, they can't argue with it. And I mean, whether they accept it or not, that's still up to them. But if they see you have found something and it works for you and it's good for your kids and it's good for your family, they're going to be impressed. They're going to be impressed by it. And they'll try and get you to get angry or say something to try and irk you, But if you stay, unfazed by their forays of making you upset, So, I mean, you're open to the public, so anything can happen. So that's why you have to not be overly adamant. Everybody has free will. They can accept or they can reject. But if you present something really impelling and nice and good, there's nothing bad about it. It's going to be hard for them to just walk away and say, "Oh, everything they said was nonsense." No. They're going to walk away and say, "Well, everything they said makes sense, but I might not be ready to follow this." But and they got it all written down here, and wow, they put a lot of work into this. And they're only talking about a happy population, happy people. So this is what people want, actually. We're not trying to sell something that they don't want.
I think yesterday there was some quote shared by somebody that Prabhupada. I'm just trying to see if we can find that. But it.
So Maharaj, maybe we can put some display or the posters with the law of karma, law of natures, though they cannot deny.
Well, no, it's
just to
it's
for a
not something
talking point.
You can't. People will always deny things, maybe.
Yes, but in general, for whoever is standing in front of displays, because there will be many volunteers. So if all volunteers are on the same page, it is easy to communicate the same thing. Otherwise, there will be mix and match of what other volunteers are talking and
Well, look, this is the main thing.
yes,
This is the main thing.
just to standardize if
Yeah.
we can display and
But we'll add, I mean, we'll add a section about the laws of nature that's not here yet. But this is the main thing. This is hard to argue with this because
yes,
they might, in the middle part, they might argue because it says path to sustained happiness, compassion and mercy for all species, truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness of body and mind. And then after that, it's spiritual values based on scriptural authority. So, you know, you're getting into Krishna consciousness in the lower parts here. So they might reject that, you know, you don't know. We have to put it down anyway because it's necessary, you know, if you want to really be happy.
and for this chart also, Maharaj, maybe we can print in a bigger
Yeah, definitely,
scale.
no. We
And-
had this when, you weren't here at that time. We had a big chart, gigantic chart, you know, and everyone was looking at it, you know. So, yeah. And it will be in the book also. Any other questions? Okay, so now how do we do, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, how do we operationalize?
How do we do it? Yeah. Well, first of all, acquaint yourself with the charts and with the two little booklets, and then we'll divide up the work. Somebody's in charge of education, for goodness. Someone's in charge of, you know, economics and finance, for goodness. Someone's in charge of something else, you know. And then you start working on the displays, right? So, and then we keep coming back to maybe reading together the whole booklet. I have to rewrite some things. I'm going to work on it starting now, and then we get a definitive booklet, and then we can get suggestions. Maybe something should be changed, or we have to add something. You know, so this is a work in progress with everybody involved in it. Okay. So now, main thing, go on our webpage. It's going to find these two booklets and see if you can peruse them or read them carefully. And then see which one of the displays you'd like to be involved with. And then next week, we'll start discussing more specifically the division of the tasks. Okay? And any suggestions you may have. Think about it. You know, it's amazing when you think about something, you come up with very good ideas. Put yourself in the position of someone that doesn't know anything about Krishna consciousness, and they just walk in and there's this display and there's smiling people and there's happy kids playing, you know, and they say, what's going on here, you know? You have to plan, you have to psychologically plan this thing so that it's going to be very attractive for the people. Already the Vedic village is an attractive thing, you know. We had a lot of different nice displays there. But this is going to be a little bit different. But the attractiveness of it has to be emphasized. You know, the artistic and thematic attractiveness, and then the actual people, the families, that has to be put together in such a way that anybody who walks in right away, they say, this is different. There's something going on here. I better stick around and find out what this is. Like yesterday, I was in Arlington. We had to go to this supply store for some farm things. And I saw this one shop. They had, actually Arlington has like really progressive downtown. It's a small downtown, but it's very progressive. And there was this one shop, you know, I couldn't figure out what it was. They had these very colorful hand-painted things on their windows. when I looked in the shop, I couldn't see they were selling anything. I was trying to figure out. I didn't have time also to go in and talk to them, but I got interested because they had these beautiful murals on their windows. You know, very colorful. One of them was, you know, "In God We Trust," you know, and there's something else in it. I was thinking it's got to have something to do with religion or yoga or something, you know. But I got attracted to that shop. Now, all the shops in their downtown are very colorful and they look upscale, right? They have a really nice small downtown in Arlington, you know, and they had some really nice restaurants also, you know, and it was a little bit in the beginning of nighttime, so everything was lit up with lights. It looked like Christmas. So that was very interesting. So you see lighting, displays, art, culture, happy people, happy children. You know, it attracts people naturally. You don't have to, you know, that makes them curious. And what's going on here, you know? So that's the type of atmosphere we want to create. Haribol.
Two books, so I can take a picture. I'll give it to you.